Okay, welcome back students. A pleasant good evening to everyone. And today I am before you to explain one of the very fascinating subject and fascinating concept in the chemistry, that is environmental science. So the name itself, it is speaking about a lot of things about environmental science. And before going to start that, this is Ecet Ask Engineering Academy for exclusively made for the Ecet students, and this academy is exactly located in Dilsukhnagar, and which is providing its significant contributions for the students of Ecet from the past many years. And now if you want any details regarding these institutions, you can get all the details in the description box provided in the description box. And now we are moving on to topic. First of all, we have to make sure of what are the actual contents in the topic of today's class. Environmental science. Environmental science, first we are dealing with introduction, environment, scope and importance of environmental studies. That means for studying a particular concept, we need at least some prospects. For example, we are riding a bicycle. For example, we are making a flying kite in the sky. With the help of that, some kind of refreshment will we get. That means whenever we are doing any activity, we may expect something out of it. Similarly, we are studying environment in Ecet. So what are the applications and what is the importance of environmental studying? That is discussed in this concept, that is scope and importance of environmental studies. Now important terms. Important terms in the sense, any concept in the chemistry is dealt with certain kind of terminology. The terminology deals with many terms. So in this view, we can analyze what are the terms, what are those definitions of those terms. We clearly explain in the latter classes. And concept of ecosystem. What is mean by ecosystem? How the ecosystem is related to environment. Now what are producers, what are consumers, and what are decomposers. What is meant by food chain, which is very important concept. What is meant by food web, what is meant by carbon and nitrogen cycles. These are also very important in the point of Ecet exam. And biodiversity, which is also very important. And definition, threats to biodiversity, how the biodiversity can be affected by human activities. And forest resources, we are very much familiar with this concept, forest resources. What are the resources in the forest? And deforestation, we know that cutting of forest, reducing the population of trees or plant shelf life, these are studied under this. Green chemistry and e-waste, management of e-waste. E-waste in the sense electronic waste. So I think most of the students who are preparing for Ecet are opted to various branches in BTech. One such branch is electrical engineering, where you are going to study various electronic devices and electronic gadgets. So after the use of those electronic gadgets, some amount of waste material will be generated. Those waste material is called as electronic waste. So how electronic waste impact the life of human being, how we have to manage electronic waste, that is called as e-waste management. All we study in this class. Now we are moving on to topic. First, introduction. Understanding the introduction of any topic is very important. Without having knowledge on basic concept of any subject, you can't move into the advancements of that subject particularly. For example, today we are dealing with environment. What is mean by environment first? Environment. What is mean by environment? What is mean by environment? So in the introduction, first of all, we have to define what is mean by environment. Then we move on to what are the terms, what are the concepts in the environmental science we usually going to look after. What is mean by environment? Initially, environment is a word which is coined from French word. It is coined from French word, that is environ. Environ. Environment is derived from a French word known as environ, which means to surround. The meaning of this word is to surround. To surround. The meaning of environment is surround. Now we are going to define environment. Environment is usually defined as sum in the sense addition, sum of all the living beings and non-living beings present in the universe. For example, this is a universe. This universe possesses living things, non-living things. Living things includes ourselves, human beings, animals, plants, and non-living things usually includes sunlight, water, and sunlight, water. These are the basic examples of air. These are the examples for the non-living things. So environment is nothing but it is a combination of both living things and non-living things. That is called as environment. So environment is defined as, it is usually defined as sum of all the living beings and non-living beings, sum of all the living beings and non-living beings. Non-living beings. This is called as environment. This is called as environment. Now we already know that from the 10th class itself, from the 6th, 7th, 8th class standard itself, we studied what are the non-living things and what are the non-living things. So I think sum of all those living things and non-living things together constituted as environment. Now, so what is the purpose of studying environment? Environment is very important for the human survival, because we, for example, we are the human beings. We are on the planet Earth. We need oxygen to breathe. We need food to eat. So in order to get some energy to do particular kind of activities, we need oxygen and we need energy. How we are getting energy? We are depending upon some other things. For example, we are depending for food, we are depending upon plants. So plants prepare food by photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is nothing but sunlight. Sunlight is an example of non-living thing, where plant is an example of living thing. So in the environment, we are going to study about mutual interactions between living things and non-living things. So remember, try to remember this word. In the environment, we are going to look about interactions. I am stressing this word, please make note of it. Interactions between living things and non-living things. 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 Environment is nothing but interaction between living things and non-living things. First, this is environment. What is meant by environment science? Environmental science is nothing but it is a branch of science which is a multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary nature. I am repeating again. I am writing here, see, environmental science. Environmental science in the sense, it is a branch which is an interdisciplinary branch. Interdisciplinary in the sense, it combines many branches of science. అంటే ఏంటంటే ఇంటర్డిసిప్లినరీ బ్రాంచ్ అంటే ఏంటంటే ఇది ఒక రకమైన బ్రాంచ్ మిగతా బ్రాంచెస్ను కూడా ఒక దగ్గర తీసుకొస్తూ ఉంటుంది. అంటే ఇట్ కంబైన్స్ ఆర్ ఇట్ కోఆర్డినేట్స్ సమ్ అదర్ బ్రాంచెస్ ఆఫ్ సైన్స్. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ఎస్ interdisciplinary branch. Environmental science is an example of interdisciplinary branch. Interdisciplinary branch which mainly deals with interactions between living beings and non-living beings. And in that concept, especially in this science, we usually study what are the living things, what are the non-living things, how the interactions are going to happen between both the living things and non-living things, and what are the harmful effects to the environment due to human activities, and what are the implications and disasters will usually happen if any slight change within the proper healthy environment. అంటే ఇక్కడ మనం ఏమేం చదువుతామంటే ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్లో వచ్చేటువంటి మార్పుల కారణంగా అవి మనిషిని ఎలా ప్రభావితం చేస్తాయి, హౌ ద ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ చేంజెస్ కెన్ ఇంపాక్ట్ ద హ్యూమన్ లైఫ్. సో దీస్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ థింగ్స్ క్యాన్ బి స్టడీడ్ వైటలీ in this thing. So this is called a basic definition for environment. Now we are moving on to scope and importance of this is environment. We have already completed this topic. Now scope and importance of environmental studies. What is the scope? I already mentioned during the initial minutes of our class. At that time I have already clearly explained what is meant by scope. For example, we are pursuing masters, we are doing our BTech or MTech. What is the scope of BTech? In order to get a job after the completion of that course. That is the scope of that BTech. Similarly, we are studying environmental science. So there should be a proper usefulness because of studying of that subject. With the help of environmental studies, by having the knowledge of environmental studies, we have some scope and significance. The scope includes, and scope of environmental studies is not only deals with single area. The scope involves wide range of areas. The scope is generally scope of environmental studies. Environmental studies, scope of environmental deals with wide range of areas, and one more thing, studying environmental studies is not only important for a particular group of people in the society. For example, in the Ecet itself you are studying environmental studies. That means it is not only important to Ecet students but also important for all the age groups. అంటే మీరు ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ చదువుతున్నారంటే మీకు మాత్రం ఇది ఇంపార్టెంట్ కాన్సెప్ట్ కాదు, మీ చుట్టూ ఉన్నటువంటి డిఫరెంట్ గ్రూప్స్ ఆఫ్ పీపుల్ ఆల్సో నీడ్ దీస్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ సబ్జెక్ట్ టు స్టడీ వాట్ ఈస్ వాట్ హ్యాపెనింగ్ విత్ ఇన్ ద ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్. సో ద స్కోప్ యూజువల్లీ generally the scope of environmental studies are determined or categorized into 3 types. One type is resource awareness. Which is very important thing. So what is meant by resource awareness? Resource awareness in the sense, for example, we human being, we are in this universe. In order to get food, we have to do some kind of things. First of all, we have to get an idea what is actually present around ourselves. మన చుట్టూ ఏముంది అనే ఒక ఐడియా మనకు రావాలి. What kind of resources are generally present around ourselves. Resources in the sense వనరులు అంటాం తెలుగులో మనం. We usually call as వనరులు, resources. By using natural resources of environment, the human survival is possible. మనిషి మనుగడ ఎలా సాధ్యమవుతుంది? బై యూజింగ్ ఆల్ ద రీసోర్సెస్ ఎగ్జిస్టింగ్ అరౌండ్ అస్. మన చుట్టూ ఉన్న ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్లో ఉన్న రీసోర్సెస్ అన్నిటినీ కూడా మనం యూజ్ చేసుకున్న తర్వాతే మన లైఫ్ అనేది పాసిబుల్ అవుతుంది. ద హ్యూమన్ లైఫ్ ఈజ్ పాసిబుల్ ఓన్లీ ఆఫ్టర్ ద యూజ్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ ద న్యాచురల్ రీసోర్సెస్. అండ్ సో యాజ్ ఎ స్టూడెంట్, యాజ్ ఎ పర్సన్, యాజ్ ఎ హ్యూమన్ బీయింగ్, వీ హ్యావ్ టు నో, వీ హ్యావ్ టు క్రియేట్ ఎ సర్టన్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ అవేర్నెస్ అబౌట్ ది న్యాచురల్ రిసోర్సెస్ అరౌండ్ అవర్ సెల్ఫ్. అంటే మన చుట్టూ ఉన్న రిసోర్సెస్ మీద మనకు ఒక అవగాహన ఉండాలి. వీ హ్యావ్ టు నో సర్టన్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ అవేర్నెస్ అబౌట్ ద రిసోర్సెస్ అరౌండ్ అస్. మన చుట్టూ ఉన్న రిసోర్సెస్ మీద తెలియాలి మనకు అవి ఏమున్నాయని. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, బేసికల్లీ అకార్డింగ్ టు సమ్ రిపోర్ట్స్ ఆఫ్ వేరియస్ సైంటిస్ట్ అక్రాస్ ది గ్లోబ్, resources are mainly 2 types. One is renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Renewable resources and non-renewable resources. So you have to know what is the difference between renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Both are resources, but renewable resource in the sense the resources which can be generated again after usage. అంటే ఏ రిసోర్సెస్ అయితే మళ్ళీ ప్రొడ్యూస్ అవుతాయో మనం యూజ్ చేసుకున్న తర్వాత such kind of resources are called as renewable resources. Renewable means that can be generated again after the use or after the consumption of it. మనం వాడుకున్న తర్వాత మళ్ళీ దాన్ని సప్లై చేసుకోగలిగితే దాన్ని renewable resources అంటాం. The best example for the renewable sources is plants, food we eat, generally food we eat, plants food. Once we consume plant, we can grow plant again. So it is an example for renewable resource. Non-renewable resource in the sense the resources which are termed as non-renewable resources which cannot be generated or produced at the end of their use. అంటే ఏదైతే మళ్ళీ మనం తొందరగా పొందలేమో వాడుకున్న తర్వాత such kind of things are called as non-renewable resources. The best example for that is coal, petrol, diesel, natural gas. These are example for fossil fuels. I think you are familiar with this. Entire automobile industry is based on these things, such as fossil fuels like petrol, diesel, coal and natural gas. These are the examples for non-renewable sources. For example, petrol, diesel. Now we are using petrol, diesel in vehicles and automobile industry. If we consume petrol and diesel unlimitedly, అంటే ఒక లిమిట్ లేకుండా మనం దాన్ని కన్జ్యూమ్ చేసుకుంటూ పోతే ఎట్ సమ్ పాయింట్ దెర్ ఈజ్ ఎ స్కేర్సిటీ ఆఫ్ ఫ్యూయల్స్. ఒకానొక పాయింట్ దగ్గర మనకు అవి ఉండవు. ఎందుకంటే ఫర్ ద ఫార్మేషన్ ఆఫ్ ఫాసిల్ ఫ్యూయల్స్, ఫర్ ద ఫార్మేషన్ ఆఫ్ ఎస్పెషల్లీ petrol, diesel or coal, it will take million years of time. Million years of time is required to produce again these resources. That's why these resources are termed as non-renewable resources. And so this is basic about resource awareness. What kind of resources are generally present around ourselves can be known from the studying environmental studies. Because of that reason, this is termed as one of the scope of environmental studies. Next, ecological. Second case is second scope, ecological awareness. Ecological awareness in the sense ecology, in the term itself, ecological awareness. What is meant by ecology? Ecology is a branch of science which deals with study of relationships between organisms. For example, think this is a pen, myself human being, dog, cat, cow, snake or everything. All these are all kind of groups of different organisms. The study of each and every organism have certain kind of relationship. For example, this is cow. Let us assume this is cow. Cow is giving milk. That's why we are depending upon cow for milk. So cow, we are mutually interacted. We have a relationship. The study of these relationships is called as ecology. Ecological awareness in the sense study of different kind of relationships that exist in the environment లో ఉన్నటువంటి relationships ని తెలుసుకోవడమే ecological awareness. So knowing, getting knowledge of the process of getting knowledge about relationships between the organisms, you can call it as groups of organisms, between groups of organisms. So this is a second group. That means we must have an idea what are the relationships generally exist between various groups of organisms around ourselves. మన చుట్టూ ఉన్నటువంటి ఆర్గానిజమ్స్ మధ్యలో ఎలాంటి బంధాలు ఉన్నాయి, ఎలాంటి సంబంధాలు ఉన్నాయి అనేవి తెలుసుకోవాలి. సో ఆ తెలుసుకునే ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఆస్పెక్ట్ మనకు ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ సైన్స్ ఇస్తుంది. ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ స్టడీ మేడ్ అవర్ వర్క్ మోర్ ఈజీ టు స్టడీ వేరియస్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ సచ్ యాజ్ రిలేషనల్ resource awareness and ecological awareness. And third, finally, one of the important concept you must learn while you are studying environmental science is disaster preparedness, which is very, very important. Disaster preparedness. What is meant by disaster preparedness? First, before going to this concept, you must understand what is meant by disaster. Sometimes, now we are living in the 21st century, we are frequently noticed lot of natural disasters such as floods, earthquakes, and huge rainfall and melting of glaciers, global warming, every kind of ante 21st century due to హ్యూమన్ యాక్టివిటీస్, మనిషి చేస్తున్న పనుల కారణంగా ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్లో లాట్ ఆఫ్ చేంజెస్ ఆర్ హ్యాపెనింగ్. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ డిఫారెస్టేషన్ చేయడం వల్ల ఏమవుతుంది, ద పర్సంటేజ్ ఆఫ్ కార్బన్ డైఆక్సైడ్ ఈజ్ ఇంక్రీజింగ్. డ్యూ టు దట్ రీజన్ ద ఎర్త్ అట్మాస్ఫియరిక్ టెంపరేచర్స్ ఆర్ రైజింగ్. డ్యూ టు దట్ రీజన్ it leads to global warming. Due to global warming, what happening, it is directly impacting the glaciers or ice blocks to melt. Because of that reason, the water levels in the seas are increasing day by day. It leads to floods, varadhalu vastunnai. These kind of things are called as natural disasters. Ante without having knowledge on environment మీద మనకు knowledge లేకపోతే we can't sustain ourselves, we can't protect ourselves at the time of natural disasters. Without having idea about environment, we cannot protect ourselves from the disaster activities. Disasters విపత్తులు అంటాం మనం. సహజ సిద్ధంగా విపత్తులు ఏర్పడుతూ ఉంటాయి. మనకు ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ గురించి, ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ సైన్స్ గురించి మనకు తెలియకపోతే డిజాస్టర్స్ ఎలా జరుగుతాయి, వాటిని ఎలా అరికట్టాలి, వాటి నుండి మనం ఎలా ప్రొటెక్ట్ చేసుకోవాలనేది మనకు తెలియదు. సో వీ కాంట్ ఫైండ్ సొల్యూషన్ టు గెట్ రిడ్ ఆఫ్ all kind of natural disasters without having idea about environmental science subject. So one of the important scope and which is very important domain of environmental science is disaster preparedness. In this thing, by having a knowledge about environmental education, we can have an idea about how to prepare ourselves when the natural disasters are going to happen. So this is third one. Now we are moving on to, this is all about scope and importance of environmental studies. Now important terms. I already said for any concept certain kind of terms are there which is very, very important terms. First, the environment, for the first time environment is introduced. The very first term which is very important in terms of environment is atmosphere. This is a term, try to remember this, atmosphere. I think you know very well what is meant by atmosphere, but I think you may not know the concept and definition of atmosphere in scientific knowledge. So I will make you understand what is meant by atmosphere and what are the components and what are the compositions in the atmosphere. Now first important term is atmosphere. What is meant by atmosphere? Atmosphere is defined as a mixture of gases or a protective layer of gases or a shield of gases on above the earth. That means atmosphere is nothing but a shield of gases or blanket of gases that present in our earth planet or habitable planet is called as atmosphere. It is defined as blanket of gases. Blanket in the sense, I think you know blanket of gases, blanket of gases or protective shield of gases. Is called, it is defined as blanket of gases or protective shield of gases is called as atmosphere. And generally, now you may get one idea. For example, our earth is a planet. Our earth planet is said to be a habitable planet. We are living on this earth because of atmosphere. Atmosphering is allowing us, enabling us to survive in this planet. Ante atmosphere ఉండడం వల్లనే హ్యూమన్ సర్వైవల్ అనేది పాసిబుల్ అవుతుంది. బట్ how the atmosphere is holding in the planet అంటే అది ఎలా ఉంటుంది ఇక్కడ, because atmosphere is around us because of earth gravity. That means as atmosphere is nothing but blanket of gases, but those gases are not escaping into the space because the earth gravitational pull is dragging the layer of atmosphere to withstand within the environment, within the earth boundaries. అంటే ఎర్త్లోనే ఉండడం కోసం ఆ బ్లాంకెట్ ఆఫ్ గ్యాసెస్ని ఎర్త్ గ్రావిటేషనల్ పుల్ లాగుతూ ఉంటుంది. అంటే ఎర్త్ గ్రావిటీ పుల్ ఈజ్ డ్రాగింగ్ ద బ్లాంకెట్ ఆఫ్ గ్యాసెస్ టు హోల్డ్ ఇన్ ద ప్లానెట్ ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్ బట్ నాట్ క్రాస్ ద బౌండరీస్ ఆఫ్ ప్లానెట్ టు ఎంటర్స్ ఇన్ టు ద స్పేస్. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ వాట్ హౌ ద అట్మాస్ఫియర్ క్యాన్ బీ హోల్డింగ్ within the planet premises. So this is what atmosphere. Now I said we have atmosphere. On the above around us there is atmosphere or blanket of gases. Atmosphere continuously exerts or applies some pressure on our planet. Atmosphere continuously pressure apply చేస్తూ ఉంటుంది. That pressure is called as atmospheric pressure. That pressure is called as atmospheric pressure. This atmospheric pressure can be measured by an instrument called as barometer. Barometer, very important concept. See, barometer. This barometer is an instrument by which the intensity of atmospheric pressure can be calculated with the help of an instrument called as barometer. It is a device or instrument to measure the atmospheric pressure. And generally, how the atmosphere is creating pressure on our planet? Generally, I already said that atmosphere is nothing but it is a combination of many gases. Mainly atmospheric pressure is mainly due to three important gases. Those are oxygen, three important gases. One is oxygen, nitrogen and argon. These are the three important gases which leads to 90% of atmospheric pressure. That means 90% of pressure exerted by the atmosphere is due to presence of these three gases, oxygen, nitrogen, argon, because these are three gases which are present in larger quantities in the atmosphere. That means in the larger amounts. And one more thing, what is the importance of atmosphere in the sense? Atmosphere is the blanket of gas. I already said it acts as protective shield. From what? From what it is protecting us? So this blanket of gases is present everywhere around us. It is protecting the human beings and all the organisms on the earth planet by blocking harmful solar ultraviolet rays. సన్ నుండి వచ్చేటువంటి హార్మ్ఫుల్ రేస్ ఏవైతే ఉంటుందో అవి ఎర్త్ సర్ఫేస్ మీద పడకుండా ఈ లేయర్ ఆఫ్ గ్యాసెస్ అనేవి ప్రొటెక్ట్ చేస్తూ ఉంటుంది. దట్ మీన్స్ ద అట్మాస్ఫియర్ ఈజ్ అ లేయర్ ఆఫ్ గ్యాసెస్ దట్ ఈస్ ప్రొటెక్టింగ్ ద ఎంటైర్ ప్లానెట్ ఆఫ్ ఎర్త్ from incoming harmful solar rays or sun rays. So this is one of the very important thing you must remember with atmosphere. It is protecting us from harmful solar rays such as X-rays, UV rays. So we are getting protection against these harmful X-rays and UV rays from the presence of atmosphere. And atmosphere not only useful in protecting us but also it is mainly helpful in maintaining the balance in temperatures. That means we experience winter, summer or rainy season. So in particular season we may experience certain kind of temperatures. This balancing of these temperatures is also function of atmosphere. That means heat balance or temperature balance. Temperature balance is also done by atmosphere. Done by atmosphere. So these are the functions of atmosphere. Now another important terms now, atmosphere is this. Atmosphere again classified into 5 distinct layers which are very very important for your Ecet point of view, and barometer also for example for Ecet, remember. And now atmospheric pressure is measured by one instrument, that is barometer. This is one of the important question for Ecet. Next we are moving on to layers of atmosphere. Atmosphere mainly categorized into 5 different layers. 4, 5. So atmosphere has 5 different layers. 5 layers. These layers are divided based on temperature changes and altitude. See, atmosphere is mainly divided into 5 layers depending upon temperature changes and altitude. Temperature lo మార్పులు ప్లస్ ఆల్టిట్యూడ్ అంటే హైట్ పెరుగుతున్న కొద్దీ హైట్ని కన్సిడర్ చేసుకుంటూ టెంపరేచర్ని చేంజెస్ని కన్సిడర్ చేసుకుంటూ atmosphere is mainly classified into 5 different types. The first layer of it is troposphere. Next, stratosphere. These are the layers of atmosphere. Next, mesosphere. Next, thermosphere. Finally, exosphere. So these are the 5 important layers of atmosphere. First one is troposphere, second one is stratosphere, third one is mesosphere, and fourth one is thermosphere, and fifth one is exosphere. Now we are going to deal each one individually. Thermosphere. What is meant by thermosphere? Thermosphere in the sense, just a minute. For example, in order to make you understand, I will draw a diagrammatic representation of Earth, how these layers are arranged. For example, this is Earth. These are the various layers of atmosphere, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. See, that is a Earth. Earth is surrounded by 5 different layers. This layer is called as, first layer is called as troposphere, tropo. Second is strato. Third one is meso. Fourth one is thermo. Fifth one is exo. See, Troposphere, this is the first layer of earth. That means the lowest and very first layer of atmosphere is called as troposphere. So it is the first layer of atmosphere is troposphere, which usually, for example, this is the ground, for example, this is earth, this flat surface is, my palm is earth. If we moving like this, if from earth if we moving like this, one after one layers will come. The first layer is troposphere. The distance between the flat ground and this layer is called approximately 10 kilometers. That means it extends in the range of 10 kilometers from ground level. Ground level నుండి 10 kilometers range లో 10 kilometers దగ్గర ఒక layer ఉంటుంది atmosphere ది, that is called as troposphere. It is approximately situated at 10 kilometers, very important thing, 10 kilometers from ground level. 10 kilometers from ground level. And one more important thing about troposphere is nearly 99% of gases present in this layer. Sorry, this is not 99, this is 79% or 75%. 75%. I will make you, this is 75%. 75% of gases that exist in the atmosphere, 70% ఉన్న గ్యాస్లు అన్నీ కూడా ఈ ట్రోపోస్ఫియర్ లేయర్లోనే ఉంటాయి. అండ్ వన్ మోర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ థింగ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు రిమెంబర్ అబౌట్ ట్రోపోస్ఫియర్ ఈస్ ద బేస్ ఆఫ్ ద ట్రోపోస్ఫియర్ ఈజ్ ఆల్వేస్ వార్మ్ ఇన్ ద సెన్స్ వేడిగా ఉంటుంది. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఐఎమ్ రైటింగ్ దిస్ లేయర్ హియర్, సి దిస్ ఈజ్ ద బేస్ ఆఫ్ ద ట్రోపోస్ఫియర్, this is the top level of troposphere. At this base it is always warm, at this cool. Why? You have to know the reasons, because generally the sun rays are falling on the earth's surface, the sun rays are absorbed by these gases. అంటే సన్ రేస్ ఎప్పుడైతే పడుతుంటాయో ఎర్త్ మీద ఉన్నటువంటి గ్యాసెస్ అన్నీ కూడా ఈ రేస్ని అబ్జార్బ్ చేసుకుంటాయి. బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దట్ అబ్జార్బింగ్ the molecules within the gases can get excited, ఇలా ఎగ్జైట్ అయిపోతాయి. ఎగ్జైట్ అయినప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, they will tends to expand. ఇలా ఉన్న మాలిక్యూల్స్ అన్నీ ఇలా ఎక్స్పాండ్ అయిపోతూ ఉంటాయి. యాజ్ ద ఫీచర్ ఆఫ్ గ్యాసెస్ ఈజ్ యాజ్ ఇట్ ఎక్స్పాండ్స్ ఇట్ విల్ బికమ్ కోల్డర్. అందుకే వామ్గా ఉన్నప్పుడు కింద వామ్గా ఎందుకు ఉంటుంది, బికాస్ దేర్ ఈజ్ నో ఎక్స్పాన్షన్ ఎట్ దిస్ పాయింట్, నో ఎక్స్పాన్షన్. బట్ వెన్ it is absorbing the radiation, it is tends to expand. Because of that expansion it is becoming cold due to expansion. So you might get one question, that is, what are the temperatures generally happen at the bottom of the troposphere? It is always warm, at the top it is cool because of expansion of gas. This is all about troposphere. Okay, this is all about troposphere. Now we are moving on to stratosphere. Now I am saying stratosphere, so I am erasing all these things and I will make you understand stratosphere separately. Now I am writing stratosphere. It is the second most layer. Second most layer. One of the important factor you must remember about this is presence of ozone. I think you might heard about this ozone, which is chemical formula is O3. Ozone is generally present in the stratosphere layer. You might have one question, that is, at which layer of atmosphere the ozone is usually present? That is stratosphere, and its range is approximately 50 kilometers from ground level. And next, now in order to find the difference between troposphere and stratosphere, you might observe one difference, that is, the temperatures in the stratosphere region is little bit more hotter, more warm, because ozone is there, it is a gas, it absorbs UV rays of the sun. యూవీ రేస్ని అబ్జార్బ్ చేసుకుంటుంది. బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దాట్ రీజన్ ద టెంపరేచర్స్ ఆఫ్ స్ట్రాటోస్పియర్ ఈజ్ మోర్ దెన్ కంపేర్డ్ టు ట్రోపోస్పియర్. ట్రోపోస్పియర్ కంటే కూడా ఇక్కడ టెంపరేచర్స్ ఎక్కువ ఉంటాయి, ఎందుకంటే యూవీ రేస్ని ఓజోన్ అబ్జార్బ్ చేసుకుంటుంది కాబట్టి. ఓజోన్ విల్ అబ్జార్బ్ ద యూవీ రేస్. సో వామ్ ఉంటుంది ఇది. అండ్ ఓజోన్, వాట్ ఈస్ ద ఫంక్షన్ ఆఫ్ ఓజోన్? యూ మైట్ లిజన్, యువర్ రియలీ లిజనింగ్, డిప్లీషన్ ఆఫ్ ఓజోన్ అండ్ హోల్ టు ద ఓజోన్. ఓజోన్ డిప్లీట్ అవుతుంది, హోల్ పడుతుంది ఓజోన్కి అంటున్నాం. దిస్ ఓజోన్ లేయర్ ఈజ్ ప్రజెంట్ ఇన్ ద స్ట్రాటోస్పియర్ ఆఫ్ అట్మాస్ఫియర్ విచ్ ఈజ్ ప్రొటెక్టింగ్ అవర్ ఎర్త్ సర్ఫేస్ ఫ్రమ్ హార్మ్ఫుల్ అల్ట్రావైలెంట్ రేస్ ఆఫ్ ద సన్. సన్ నుండి వచ్చేటువంటి అల్ట్రావైలెట్ రేస్ ఎర్త్ సర్ఫేస్ మీద, మన స్కిన్ సర్ఫేస్ మీద పడకుండా చేసేవేంటి? దిస్ ఓజోన్. ఓజోన్ ఈజ్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ కాన్సెప్ట్ అండ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ సిచ్యువేటెడ్ at stratosphere. This is one of the very important question for Ecet. Next, move on to third one is mesosphere. What is meant by mesosphere? Mesosphere is nothing but, mesosphere in the sense it is a third most layer which is exactly ranges at the range of 85 kilometers from ground level. In the mesosphere, temperatures usually range as very cold temperature. In the mesosphere regions, the temperatures are very colder. The temperature sometimes reaches to minus 96 degrees centigrade temperature. Mesosphere is coldest layer of atmosphere. Coldest layer also minus. So this is all about mesosphere. 85 kilometers from ground, it is the most coldest layer. This is also one of the question. Which is the most coldest layer? That is mesosphere. Coldest layer of atmosphere, that is mesosphere. Now fourth one is mesosphere, thermosphere, which is very important layer. Thermosphere is the most hottest layer. The temperatures are usually in the range of 500 degrees centigrade to 2000 degrees centigrade temperatures. These are the temperatures usually present in thermosphere, and it is a range exactly situated from the range of 800 to 85 to 200 kilometers. It is a range of 85 to 200 kilometers exactly situated from ground level. This is thermosphere. Generally, you must, very important thing about thermosphere is, we know satellites. The satellites are orbiting in the sky. Generally, the satellites are orbiting in this layer. Thermosphere is a region where the satellites are orbiting the earth. Satellites అనేవి ఎక్కడ తిరుగుతూ ఉన్నాయి? థర్మోస్ఫియర్ అనే లేయర్, అట్మాస్ఫియర్లో థర్మోస్ఫియర్ అనేది ఒక లేయర్, ఆ లేయర్లో ఉంటాయి ఈ ఆర్బిట్స్ అన్నీ కూడా. సో satellites will orbit in this. Satellites will get orbited. Satellites orbits in this layer. This is thermosphere. And one more thing is the air is very thin. Air is very thin in the layer of thermosphere. Thin air. చాలా తేలిగ్గా ఉంటుంది అన్నమాట ఎయిర్. So very thin. So it is floats. So it helps for the movement of satellites because the air is very thin. Next, finally, fifth one is exosphere. Exosphere is not that much important, but you must know about this also. Exosphere in the sense, the layer which is the last layer of atmosphere, which is nothing but space. That means the layer of atmospheric gases are trying to escape or leaking. ఎక్కడి నుంచి అయితే గ్యాసెస్ లీక్ అవుతూ ఉంటాయి అవుటర్ స్పేస్లోకి, దట్ లేయర్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ as exosphere. This is a layer from where the atmospheric gases are leaking out. Atmospheric gases usually leaks. Atmospheric gases usually leak ఎక్కడి నుంచి? ఎక్సోస్పియర్ నుంచి. ఎక్సోస్పియర్ దాటినాక ఏముంటుంది? నెక్స్ట్ స్పేస్ ఉంటుంది. దేర్ ఈజ్ నో ఎయిర్ ఎట్ ఆల్ ఇన్ ద స్పేస్. దిస్ ఈజ్ ఆల్ అబౌట్ different layers and different terms of atmosphere. And one more important term is that is biosphere. you have to remember these also. Biosphere is nothing but biosphere. This is also very important concept. Biosphere means bio means life. The layer of atmosphere or the part of atmosphere where the life is possible. ఎక్కడైతే లైఫ్ పాసిబుల్ అవుతుందో ఆ లేయర్ నుండి బయోస్పియర్ అంటాం. ఇప్పుడు మనం ఇక్కడ ఉంటున్నాం కాబట్టి సో ఆల్ ద లైఫ్ ప్రజెంట్ ఇన్ ఏ పర్టికులర్ లేయర్, దట్ లేయర్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ఎస్ బయోస్పియర్, విచ్ సపోర్ట్స్ లైఫ్. ఏదైతే లైఫ్ని సపోర్ట్ చేస్తుందో ఆ లేయర్ ఆఫ్ అట్మాస్ఫియర్ని బయోస్పియర్ అంటారు. దిస్ ఈజ్ వాట్. నౌ కాన్సెప్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఎకోసిస్టమ్. వాట్ ఈస్ మీన్ బై ఎకోసిస్టమ్? Ecosystem means it is also part of environment. Environmental studies lo ecosystem అనేది కూడా ఒక part. Concept of ecosystem is the defined as structural and functional unit of environment. Remember this. Ecosystem is defined as structural and functional unit of environment. Environment is nothing but it's a made up of ecosystem. Ecosystem అనే ఒక కొన్ని కాన్సెప్ట్స్ని బేస్ చేసుకొని ఎన్వైర్న్మెంట్ అనేది ఫామ్ అవుతుంది. దట్స్ వై ద సెంట్రల్ డాగ్మా అంటే ఏంటంటే the central point of formation for the environment is ecosystem. Ecosystem is, that's why it is called as structural and functional unit of environment. This is called as ecosystem. And ecosystem, what is the purpose of studying ecosystem? Generally ecosystem is also nothing but it is a study of interactions between organisms. Especially it is an interaction between two components. Those two components are, ecosystem is nothing but study of interactions between two components. One is biotic factors, and second one is abiotic. These are very important concepts. Biotic and abiotic. What is meant by biotic and what is meant by abiotic? Biotic, in the name itself there is a bio. See, bio means life, that means living things. Abio, without life, that is non-living things. This is living things. So now in the study of ecosystem there is a mutually interaction between biotic and abiotic factors. There is a mutual interaction between biotic and abiotic factors. And in the biotic, again it classified into many types, such as 3 important classes of biotic components. One is producers, second one is consumers, third one is decomposers. See, ecosystem mainly divided into 2 components, biotic and abiotic. Again biotic can be classified into 3 components, producers, consumers, decomposers. Now these consumers are again classified into 3 types. See, these consumers are again classified into 3 types. First, primary, secondary, tertiary. Primary consumers, examples, herbivorous. These are group of organisms, herbivorous. The second example for this is carnivorous. Third one is carnivores again. See, ecosystem, biotic and abiotic. Biotic again classified into producers, consumers, decomposers. Again the consumers are divided into 3 types, primary, secondary, tertiary. Primary consumers are also called as herbivorous. Secondary consumers are also called as carnivorous, and third consumers are called as carnivorous also, again carnivorous. Now, and ecosystem, one more important thing about ecosystem is producers, consumers and decomposers. First, I will explain the concept of producers, decomposers, consumers with a pyramid shape. I think you might understand this concept very much if I will draw like this. This is the producers, these are consumers, these are decomposers. These are producers. These are consumers. These are decomposers. 1, 2, 3. This is one ecosystem. I mean, this is an ecosystem where producers, consumers, decomposers are there in the biotic components. Now, from this to here, from here to here, there is a continuous flow of energy. Producers నుండి consumers నుండి decompose మధ్యలో నిరంతరాయంగా ఒక ఎనర్జీ అనేది ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ అవుతూ ఉంటుంది. దెర్ ఈస్ ఎ కంటిన్యూస్ ఫ్లో ఆఫ్ ఎనర్జీ బిట్వీన్ ద ఈకోసిస్టమ్. దిస్ ఈజ్ కాల్డ్ as flow of energy. Flow of energy. There is a continuous flow of energy from producers to consumers and consumers to decomposers. Now we have to study in detail what is producers, what are consumers and what are decomposers. Now first, producers. Producers in the sense, producers are nothing but, in the name itself, they are producers, they are generators, they are producing food for entire human life. అంటే మన ప్లానెట్ మీద లైఫ్ పాసిబుల్ అవ్వడానికి కావాల్సిన ప్రైమరీ సోర్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫుడ్ ఏదైతే ఉంటుందో అది ప్రొడ్యూసర్స్ ప్రొడ్యూస్ చేస్తుంది. ద ప్రైమరీ సోర్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫుడ్ రిక్వైర్డ్ ఫర్ ఎంటైర్ living beings is produced from producers. Because of that reason, producers are also called as autotrophs. Autotrophs means they can prepare their own food from the sunlight. Example, plants. Producers ki best example enti? Plants. Because they are called as autotrophs. Auto means self. They are self preparing from sunlight. By using sunlight, by the phenomenon called as photosynthesis. Photosynthesis అనే కాన్సెప్ట్ బట్టి they are preparing their own food. Photosynthesis process ద్వారా plants preparing their own food. Because of that reason, this food is again food for all the consumers and decomposers. Because of that reason, these plants are considered as producers. Next, consumers. What are consumers? Consumers in the sense, again, primary, secondary, tertiary. Primary means the primary consumers are the organisms that depend upon producers for food. Example, herbivores. Herbivores అంటే ఏంటంటే వెజిటేరియన్స్ అని అంటే దే ఓన్లీ ఈట్ వెజిటేరియన్ ఫుడ్ సచ్ as plants, herbs, shrubs. For example, cow. Cow is an example for herbivore because it uses to eat grass, which is again a plant. So primary consumers, best example is herbivores, cow, because they are depending upon plants for their food. Primary consumers are the group of organism that depending on the producers for food, that is called as primary. Secondary means these are depending upon herbivores. Secondary consumers are depending upon herbivores for food. Next, tertiary are depending upon secondary. First, producers, primary consumer depending upon producers, secondary consumers depend on primary consumers, tertiary consumers depend upon primary and second consumers. The best example for this, omnivores and carnivores. Omnivores means it can both vegetarian and non-vegetarian. What is carnivores? Only non-vegetarian. So these are the different types of organisms. Now finally we are moving on to decomposers. What is meant by decomposers? Which is very, very important. Decomposers means, for example, our human body, after we die, human body, the remains of human body or dead body antam chudandi, it will be on the earth planet. Decomposers are the organism which depend upon dead and decayed matter. అంటే ఏదైతే డెడ్ ప్రాణం లేనటువంటి జీవుల మీద ఆధారపడి బతికేటువంటివే decomposers. Decomposers are nothing but they usually depend upon dead and decaying matter. Depend upon dead and decaying matter. Dead and decaying matter. Examples, bacteria. bacteria and fungi. And the decomposers are very important, plays very important role, because decomposers are the organism which naturally clean the environment, which helps in the cleaning of environment. డెడ్ బాడీస్ అన్నీ ఉంటాయి కదా, వాటిని అన్నిటిని తినేసి ఎన్వైర్న్మెంట్ని క్లీన్గా ఉంచుతూ ఉంటాయి. దట్ వై decomposers are very good cleansing agent of environment, because of this which helps in cleansing of environment. This is called as decomposers. Now producers, plants, consumers, primary, secondary, tertiary, herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, decomposers, bacteria, fungi. These are the various classes of ecosystem in which biotic factors are especially explained. Now what is meant by food chain? We studied now, these are producers. This is producers. Here primary consumers. Here secondary consumers. Third one tertiary consumers. Finally decomposers. Now see, producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers and decomposers. See, for example, this is grass. For example, plants or grass. One, primary consumers are cows. Secondary consumers are human beings. And some other organisms. These are comes under all carnivores. That means these are all termed as consumers. I am not dividing it. Consumers. These are producers, primary consumers. These are secondary and tertiary consumers are together written as like this. Decomposers are human being and organism. For example, eagle, bacteria and fungi. First, grass. Cow depend upon grass for food. Human being eat cows. Eagle and bacteria, fungi will be eat our dead and decaying matter of this thing. The relationship between, or the scientific mutual relationship between these organisms is a link. The link or the relationship between producers, consumers and decomposers is called as food chain. Food chain is a scientific link. It is called as scientific link between producers, consumers and decomposers. So the study of the relationships or interactions or links between all the group of organisms in the environment is called as food chain. So ecosystem contains many food chains. For example, water తీసుకుందాం. వాటర్లో ఫిష్ ఉంటుంది, వాటర్లో ఆల్గే ఉంటుంది, వాటర్లో ఇంకా కొన్ని ఆర్గానిజమ్స్ ఉంటాయి. అక్కడేంటి, దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ ఆక్వాటిక్ ఫుడ్ చైన్. అంటే వాటర్ ఉంది కాబట్టి దాన్ని ఆక్వాటిక్ లైఫ్ అంటారు, దాన్ని ఆక్వాటిక్ లివింగ్ సిస్టమ్ అంటారు. ఒకవేళ ఎర్త్ మీద తీసుకుంటే గ్రాస్, ఫ్రాగ్, కౌస్, దీని ఏమంటారంటే టెరెస్ట్రియల్ అంటారు. అంటే ఎన్వైర్న్మెంట్ ఈజ్ మేడప్ ఆఫ్ డిఫరెంట్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫుడ్ చైన్స్. ద కాంబినేషన్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ ద ఫుడ్ చైన్ ఈజ్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ ఫుడ్ వెబ్. Combination, here I am writing combination of all the food chain. The combination of all the food chain is termed as food web. This food chain includes, this food web includes, for example, aquatic food chain, terrestrial. Terrestrial means land. This is water. These are the two things which the combination of all the food chain is termed as food web. Food web is an interlocking system. అన్నీ ఒక దగ్గరికి వచ్చి ఇట్లా కూర్చొని ఒక వెబ్ లాగా, ఒక నెట్ లాగా ఫామ్ అవుతుంది. దట్ నెట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ as ఫుడ్ వెబ్. దట్ ఈస్ సింప్లీ కలెక్షన్ ఆఫ్ ఫుడ్ చైన్స్. అన్ని ఫుడ్ చైన్స్ని కలెక్ట్ చేసి దాన్ని ఫుడ్ వెబ్ అంటారు. the carbon and nitrogen cycle. What is meant by carbon and nitrogen cycle? Now, first, before going to learn about this, first carbon and nitrogen. What is carbon and what is meant by nitrogen? The carbon and nitrogens are essential nutrients for our body. Carbon, nitrogen compounds are very important for the proper functioning of human body. The main purpose of carbon is to produce energy. Carbon produces energy. This energy will be utilized by nitrogen to utilize this energy to form proteins and DNA. Simply, we know DNA and proteins. First, carbon is the primary source of energy. We are synthesizing energy from carbon. This energy is utilized by the nitrogen to form proteins and DNA, which are very important for entire body formation. మన బాడీ మొత్తం ఫామ్ అవ్వడానికి కార్బన్ నైట్రోజన్ ప్లేస్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ రోల్. కార్బన్ ఎనర్జీ ఇస్తుంది. ఆ ఇచ్చిన ఎనర్జీని నైట్రోజన్ యూటిలైజ్ చేసుకొని ప్రోటీన్స్ని, న్యూక్లిక్ యాసిడ్, దట్ ఇస్ DNA, RNAని ఫామ్ చేస్తుంది. దిస్ ఈజ్ ద ఇంపార్టెంట్. నౌ కార్బన్ సైకిల్ మీన్స్ అండ్ నైట్రోజన్ సైకిల్. Carbon cycle, simply carbon cycle, that means the movement of carbon from one organism to another organism. Simply, it is a movement. It's a movement of carbon between land, oceans and living beings. Living beings means we. Land, carbon, living beings. The movement of carbon through the land, water, living beings and atmosphere. This is called as carbon cycle. Similarly, nitrogen also same. Now, the carbon cycle majorly involves several phenomena or several steps. Those steps involve, first step is photosynthesis. Very, very important. Carbon cycle usually includes these processes. First is photosynthesis, second is respiration, third is decomposition, fourth one is fossil fuels. See, photosynthesis is the first step in carbon cycle. Photosynthesis means what? By the process of photosynthesis, the producers, I said plants, prepare their own food. Here, plant is using water, sunlight and carbon dioxide to form energy. That means the carbon is involving in this. So, this is called as photosynthesis because there is a flow of carbon between plant and atmosphere. This is called as photosynthesis. Respiration. In the respiration, our human beings produce energy by absorbing oxygen from the plants. Plants నుండి వచ్చిన ఆక్సిజన్ తీసుకొని మనం ఎనర్జీని ప్రొడ్యూస్ అవుతాం. అక్కడేంటి, ఇక్కడ మనం కార్బన్ డైఆక్సైడ్ని బయటికి రిలీజ్ చేస్తూ ఉంటాం. అంటే ఇట్స్ అ మూమెంట్ ఆఫ్ కార్బన్ ఫ్రమ్ అవర్ బాడీ టు అట్మాస్ఫియర్. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ రెస్పిరేషన్. డీకంపోజిషన్ ఇన్ ద సెన్స్, డెడ్ బాడీస్ ఉంటాయి, డెడ్ బాడీస్ అండ్ డెడ్ అండ్ డికేయింగ్ మ్యాటర్. బ్యాక్టీరియా, ఫంగై విల్ యాక్ట్ అపాన్ దట్ బాడీస్. They will make the bodies broken into small parts and it will make to release carbon dioxide present in their bodies. అంటే మన బాడీస్ చనిపోయిన తర్వాత మన బాడీలో ఉన్న కార్బన్ డైఆక్సైడ్ అంతా కూడా ఎర్త్లోకి రిలీజ్ అవుతూ ఉంటుంది విత్ ద హెల్ప్ ఆఫ్ బ్యాక్టీరియా. Bacteria will be decompose our body to make to release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This is called as decomposition. Here also there is a flow of carbon. This is called carbon cycle. Fossil fuels, for example coal, petrol and diesel. By burning petrol, coal, diesel in automobiles, carbon compounds are evolving into the atmosphere. వాటిని మనం బర్న్ చేయడం వల్ల ఏమవుతుంది, హైడ్రోకార్బన్స్, కార్బన్స్, ఆక్సైడ్స్ అన్నీ కూడా అట్మాస్ఫియర్ రిలీజ్ అవుతున్నాయి. అంటే ఫ్రమ్ vehicles to carbon and the atmosphere release అవుతుంది, ఇక్కడ కూడా flow of carbon, so it is called as carbon cycle. So these are the important things in the carbon cycle. This is all about carbon cycle. Now nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle, first one, nitrification or nitrogen fixation. Nitrification or nitrogen N2 fixation. This is the first step in nitrogen cycle. Second step is nitrification. Third step is denitrification. Third one is denitrification. And fourth one is ammonification. Nitrogen fixation, nitrification, denitrification and ammonification. These are the four important steps in nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen fixation means fixing of atmospheric nitrogen, ante atmospheric ఉన్న nitrogen ni absorb చేయడం. The process of absorption of atmospheric nitrogen by certain living organism. కొన్ని living organisms are highly evolved, they absorb the atmospheric nitrogen, that is called as nitrogen fixation. Yet there is a flow of nitrogen from atmosphere to bodies. Nitrification in the sense conversion of N2 to various nitrogen forms. Nitrogen forms అంటే అట్మాస్ఫియర్ నుంచి తీసుకున్న నైట్రోజన్ అనేది డిఫరెంట్ ఫార్మ్స్ ఆఫ్ నైట్రోజన్ కన్వర్ట్ అవ్వడం, దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ఎస్ నైట్రిఫికేషన్. డీనైట్రిఫికేషన్ ఇన్ ద సెన్స్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో సిమిలర్ టు దట్ ఆఫ్ N2. అమ్మోనిఫికేషన్ మీన్స్ ఆక్సిడేషన్ ఆఫ్ అమోనియా. ఆక్సిడేషన్ ఆఫ్ అమోనియా విచ్ ఇస్ అనదర్ వన్ ఆఫ్ ది ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ నైట్రోజన్. అమోనియా అనేది కూడా నైట్రోజన్ ఒక ఫార్మ్, అది ఆక్సిడేషన్ అయితే దాన్ని అమోనిఫికేషన్ అంటారు. సో దీస్ ఆర్ ది ఇంపార్టెంట్ స్టెప్స్ ఇన్ nitrogen cycle. These are the important steps in carbon cycle. First carbon, nitrogen, very important. Carbon for producing energy. Nitrogen uses this energy to form proteins and DNA, and the carbon cycle includes photosynthesis, respiration, decomposition of fossil fuels. Nitrogen involves N2 fixation, nitrification, denitrification and ammonification. These are the steps in nitrogen cycle. These are the cycle. Next, we are moving on to one more topic or one more concept, that is one more concept that is one more topic, that is biodiversity. What is meant by biodiversity? For example, we are the human beings. Cows, dogs, buffaloes and many organisms are there. When we observe that organisms, we may find some differences, variations and variabilities among organisms. Earth atmosphere or earth or environment is made up of many organisms which show many differences. Those differences is nothing for diversities. So those differences are in the organisms or living organism. Because of that reason, bio means life, diversity, differences among the living organisms. That's why this is called biodiversity. Biodiversity is referred as the variety and variability seen in plants and animals. Variety and plants and animals. The variety and variability seen in plants and animals is called as biodiversity. అంటే differences, animals లో plants లో different organisms ఎలాంటి differences ఉంటాయో అవన్నిటిని differences ని collectively called as biodiversity. Bio, life, diversity, difference. This is called as biodiversity, which is very important to us. And next, this is a concept of biodiversity. For example, human, cow, rat, plants, differences will be there. So these differences are termed as biodiversity. Next concept is definition and threats to biodiversity. Already we have discussed what is the definitions of biodiversity. What is meant by threats? Threats means danger bells అంటాం, warnings అంటాం. అంటే biodiversity ఎట్లా threat కి గురవుతుంది. That means threat. Threat to biodiversity. Threat to biodiversity. Generally, threats to biodiversity in the sense, what are the threats to biodiversity? Biodiversity ఎట్లా డిఫరెంట్గా పాడవుతుంది, biodiversity how it is getting harmful by the activities of human. For example, we are living in 21st century. We are seeing lot of advancements in science and technology. Science and technology advancement చూస్తూ ఉన్నాం మనం. As a result of urbanization, as a result of globalization, as a result of deforestation, as a result of over exploitation of natural resources. Natural resources ఎక్కువగా వాడుకోవడం వల్ల, మరియు అర్బనైజేషన్స్ వల్ల ఫారెస్ట్ ల్యాండ్స్ అన్నిటిని క్లియర్ చేయడం వల్ల, మళ్ళీ వాటర్ రిసోర్స్ని పొల్యూట్ చేయడం ద్వారా, ఎయిర్ని పొల్యూట్ చేయడం ద్వారా, డ్యూ టు హ్యూమన్ ఆర్ మ్యాన్ మేడ్ మిస్టేక్స్, మనిషి చేస్తున్నటువంటి కార్యకలాపాల వల్ల డైవర్సిటీ, హ్యూమన్ బయోడైవర్సిటీ అనేది థ్రెట్కి గురవుతుంది. సో థ్రెట్స్ టు బయోడైవర్సిటీస్ ఫస్ట్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ రీజన్ ఈజ్ హ్యూమన్ యాక్టివిటీస్. Human activities and pollution of automobile, that means simply. Third one is deforestation and urbanization, and fourth one globalization. So these are the various threats to biodiversity. Because of that reason, for example, I will explain how these are threats to biodiversity. For example, deforestation. Deforestation is nothing but cutting of forest or clearing of forest areas. Forest ni narikiveyadam. Due to cutting of forest, generally the forest is a wide range of organisms will be used to survive. Different kinds of organisms are there in the forest. Due to clearing of the forest, all the life of those organisms will get disturbed. అంటే ఒక డైవర్సిటీ ఉన్నటువంటి ఆర్గానిజమ్స్ మధ్యలో వాటి లైఫ్ అనేది డిస్టర్బ్ అయిపోయింది. ఎందుకు? బికాస్ ఆఫ్ డిఫారెస్టేషన్. బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దట్ రీజన్ ద డిఫారెస్టేషన్ ఈజ్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ థ్రెట్ టు బయోడైవర్సిటీ. సో సిమిలర్లీ దీస్ ఆర్ ఆల్ ద థ్రెట్స్ ఫర్ బయోడైవర్సిటీ. నెక్స్ట్, forestry resources. It is very important and very easy also. What is forest resources? What are the resources what we derive from forest? Forest resources includes what? మనకి ఏమేమి వస్తాయి ఫారెస్ట్ నుంచి? We get fresh oxygen from plants, we get timber for furniture, we get meat from forest, we get honey products and honey various things from forest, and one more important thing is medicinal products which have medicinal benefits. So the important thing, forest resources are food primary, oxygen, third one timber in the sense for furnitures, fourth one honey and honey products, fifth one medicines, simply medicines, and feed for our pet animals, pets. These are all the resources which are get from the forest. Apart from this, some other additional uses are also there with the forest. Forests are reason for absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which is an example for very harmful gas, that is carbon dioxide. So forests absorb the harmful carbon dioxide also, absorbs CO2 and reduces global warming. And it also prevents soil erosion కాకుండా కాపాడేది కూడా forest. So these are the resources what we get from the forest. Deforestation is simply forest, removal of forests, forest area due to urbanization. Urbanization is nothing but now in order to lay foundation for a big building, a big institution, for a shopping mall or anything, the existing forest land is clearing for in order to lay foundation for roads, bridges, canals. So forest area is getting exploited. Because of that reason, this is called deforestation, removal of forest area for various purposes, for the leading of comfortable life. మనం సౌకర్యవంతంగా జీవితం ఉంచుకోవడం కోసం ఫారెస్ట్ ల్యాండ్ని మనం క్లియర్ చేస్తున్నాం. దట్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ బట్ డిఫారెస్ట్. ఇట్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ బట్ clearing of forest area or reducing the population of forest for leading comfortable lives of human beings is called as deforestation. Simple. Green chemistry. What is mean by green chemistry? Green chemistry is also very important concept. So far we have studied what is mean by environment, what are the components of environment and everything we studied. Green chemistry is that, green chemistry is the one of the very important branch of chemistry where the two important subjects plays very important role. Those two important subjects are, one is chemistry and chemical engineering. Chemistry and chemical engineering. Chemistry and chemical engineering are the two branches which simultaneously works together for the establishment of green chemistry. Green chemistry is nothing but, green chemistry is a branch which deals with reducing the pollution or producing the eco-friendly products by sustainable development and sustainable use. అంటే ఏంటంటే environment ki harmful కాకుండా products ni generate చేయడం. The process of producing various products without causing any harm to the environment, producing products, that is called as green chemistry. The main principle behind green chemistry is atom economy. This is very important. Atom economy is the important economy, is a step by which the green chemistry is possible. Green chemistry is possible by atom economy. Atom economy means reducing the hazardous substance or harmful substances to release into environment. It is nothing but reduction of hazardous substances. Hazardous in the sense harmful or poisonous to atmosphere. This is called as green chemistry. Now this is all about, and green chemistry is simple ga green chemistry ela cheppalante, for example we know, for example there is a chemical reaction AB gives rise to C, A plus B gives rise to C. We should add some kind of catalyst. For example, if we use aniline as catalyst, aniline అనేది ఒకటి వాడాం మనం, what will happen at the end of reaction, we get some product, some C product వచ్చింది. Aniline అనేది ఒక organic compound. This organic compound is poisonous. It's still present in the environment causing harmful to the bodies of human being. Environment ki harmful అవుతుంది aniline. So green chemistry అంటే ఏంటంటే the chemistry that replace the catalyst such as aniline. Aniline లాంటి harmful substances replace చేసే chemistry. The chemistry which is replacing chemical substances in a greater extent to produce more eco-friendly products. పర్యావరణానికి హితమైనటువంటి products ని produce చేసే ఒక కాన్సెప్టే green chemistry. I think you may get a proper idea about what is meant by green chemistry. This is all about green chemistry. Now e-waste management of e-waste. E-waste. What is meant by e-waste? During the initial hours of my class, I have already explained what is meant by e-waste. E-waste is abbreviated as electronic waste. E-waste. E stands for electronic. E stands for electronic. Electronic. E stands for electronic. E-waste stands for electronic waste. E stands for electronic waste. And what is the importance of e-waste management? E-waste means electronic waste. Electronic waste in the sense we are using many of electronic devices such as fans, lights, wires, boards, switches and Bluetooth and boards, electronic circuits, electronic devices, semiconductors, lithium ion batteries, various semiconductor gallium batteries, everything we are using electronic devices in this generation. So at the end of their use, after their shelf life, what life అయిపోయిన తర్వాత they become as waste, electronic waste, e-waste. So if we allow that waste into release in an environment, it will show some harmful effects on environment, because electronic waste is made up of certain kind of chemicals. Because of that chemical composition, it may cause some harmful effects on environment. So management of that e-waste is also very important. The electronic waste management is nothing but reducing, recycling, reusing. Reducing, recycling and reusing, and proper disposal. reducing, recycling and reusing. These are the three R principle. 3 R's: reducing of electronic devices by another alternatives, reusing of electronic devices, recycling of electronic devices, and proper disposal of waste materials, that is electronic waste, is called e-waste management. Such that first step is we have to create awareness among individuals about harmful effects of, అంటే మనం సొసైటీలో ఒక అవగాహన కల్పించాలి, ఎలక్ట్రానిక్ వేస్ట్ వల్ల ఎలాంటి హార్మ్ఫుల్ ఎఫెక్ట్స్ ఉంటాయో అవి చూపెట్టాలి. సో వీ హ్యావ్ టు క్రియేట్ ఫస్ట్ the various problems that related to disposal of electronic waste in various areas. ఓపెన్ ప్లేసెస్లో ఎలక్ట్రానిక్ వేస్ట్ డంప్ చేసేస్తే ఎలాంటి ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఉంటాయో మనం అవేర్నెస్ క్రియేట్ చేయాలి. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ హౌ వీ హ్యావ్ టు క్రియేట్ అవేర్నెస్ బై కండక్టింగ్ సర్టన్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ with proper environmental organizations will be there. With the help of those organization we can make oneself to understand what are the complications of e-waste disposal. So proper e-waste disposal and management of waste is very important. So far this is what e-waste and e-waste management. This is all about environmental science. The next topic in this is environmental studies. So it is also very important, environmental studies. This is all about environmental science. So next we are moving on to environmental studies, studying of environment. So far we have completed this, and next so this is all about environmental science. So we have completed environmental science and what are the components, what are the terms used in it. So thank you so much for listening my class with very curiosity, very much interested. So I hope everybody should understand my classes in a clear cut manner, because without understanding of my class there is no use of teaching so many hours. So I hope every students can reach my topic in a fluent and simplistic way. You will not be able to reconnect, your stream will stop and you will no longer